So let's go first to the first paragraph of the parasha, Parashat Yitro. It's named on the name of Yitro, Choten Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe. We have few examples of father-in-law, son-in-law in our Torah. The previous one was Lavan with Yaakov. Now we have Moshe with Yitro. We know in the female groups, Naomi and Ruth, and there are others. But the closest to our parasha is Yaakov. Like I still remember, we just read it a few parashiot ago, how Yaakov lives with his father-in-law, with Lavan. He marries one of course, he works for him, he lives with him, he kind of becomes part of the family of Lavan. Same thing happens here between Moshe and Yitro. We know that Moshe was living by his father-in-law Yitro whenever he was taking care of his sheep, and he has this encounter with Hashem, and when he sees the burning bush, and Hashem requests from him to go and save Am Israel, and there is when Moshe is leaving the house of his father-in-law to go to save his Jewish brothers after all this back and forth with Hashem. We also know that he was going with his wife, with Tzipporah and his children, on the journey going to Egypt. Tzipporah had to circumcise one of her children, Eliezer actually, because he wasn't circumcised, and something was going to happen there. Mefarshim are discussing if Hashem was going to punish Moshe by killing him or the child himself. What happens is that what Chachamim tell us in that place is that when Moshe is coming to Egypt, Aaron comes to greet Yosef. This is a midrash, and Aaron asks Moshe, "Who are these? Who is this woman and these boys?" And Moshe tells Aaron, "These are my family. This is my wife and my children." And Aaron tells Moshe, "We are sorry for all of us that are here in Egypt as slaves. Are you bringing more? Are you bringing new slaves to this type of life?" And it seems that then they are going back to Yitro to stay with him, Tzipporah and the children. So they have not been with Moshe throughout all this process of the exodus of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And now in our parasha, Yitro is coming towards Moshe, bringing his wife and his boys. I'm going to read now at the beginning of the parasha. Yitro, the minister of Midian, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard everything that God did to Moshe and to Israel, his people, that Hashem had taken Israel out of Egypt. Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, took Tzipporah, the wife of Moshe, after she had been sent away, and her two sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he had said, "I was a sojourner in a stranger land," and the name of the other was Eliezer, for the God of my father came to my aid, and he saved me from the sword of Paro. And then Yitro is coming to Moshe with his sons and wife to the wilderness where he was encamped by the mountain of God. He said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law Yitro, have come to you with your wife and her two sons with her. It seems that they arrived to the camp where Am Israel is encamped, apparently next to Har Elohim, to Har Sinai, and he sends voice to Moshe to tell him, I have, this is your father-in-law with your wife and children are here. So Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, and he prostrated himself and kissed him, and each inquired about the other's well-being, and they came to the tent. Moshe told his father-in-law everything that Hashem had done to Paro and Egypt for Israel's sake, all the travail that had befallen them on the way, and that Hashem had rescued them. Yitro rejoiced over all the good that Hashem had done for Israel, that he had rescued it from the hand of Egypt. Yitro said, we see here one of the few times that this is in the Torah, Baruch Hashem, these two words that we use so often whenever somebody asks us, how are you feeling? Or as an appreciation, as thanking Hashem, Yitro is used in these words. Baruch Hashem, he says, אשר הציל אתכם מיד מצרים ומיד פרעה, אשר הציל את העם מתחת יד מצרים, who has rescued the people from under the hand of Egypt. Now I know that Hashem is greater than all the gods, for in the very matter in which the Egyptians had conspired against them, Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, took an elevation offering and feast offerings for God, and Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before God. From here, Chachamim actually understand and appreciate that the Torah is presenting us with a different behavior of the non-Jew. The previous Parashat Bo Beshalach, ended with the attack and the war of Amalek against Am Israel. We see there an approach of anti-Semitism of a non-Jew nation. It was a group of a tribe, and non-Jewish people that hate us for the sake of hatred, come to attack us without having any reason, come from the end of the camp, wherever the women and the children are, without any reason they come and attack us. We see anti-Semitism, we see hatred. In our parasha, we see a different approach, and we have to learn that sometimes, yes, sometimes all the non-Jews are hating us, and it's not always the case that anti-Semitism is what drives them in their behavior with us. Here we see a very a loving, supporting attitude of Yitro. At the same time, it's very non-Jewish, the way that he expresses his appreciation for what happened to us. He says, "Blessed Hashem, now I know that Hashem is greater than all the gods." Okay, so I compare. There was a war, and your God was stronger than their God, so your God is the strongest. This is true. And actually, Hashem had the plan for the nations, for all the people around the area of Egypt to understand and to appreciate the miracles and the greatness of Hashem. But this is not the only thing that makes us appreciate Hashem. Whenever we are going to be punished and exiled from the land, and there will be nations that will be on the surface stronger than us, because Hashem is giving them the possibility to win the war, like the Babylonians or the Romans, that doesn't mean that our God is less stronger. So the appreciation is amazing. The reasoning is a little bit not exactly what it is. And then the next part of the parasha, after Yitro appreciates and celebrates and bring offerings, and they sit and they eat together with Moshe, the next day, Moshe is sitting to judge the people, and the people stood by Moshe from the morning till the evening. So the father-in-law of Moshe saw everything that he was doing to the people, and he said, "What is this thing that you do to the people? Why do you sit alone with all the people standing by you from morning to evening?" So we know, and this is really the advice, that especially in relationships between in-laws, things are very delicate. And the advice is always, don't be too involved, too critical, just look and be quiet. Here, Yitro is expressing himself, he's pronouncing himself, he's giving Moshe Rabbeinu advice. This is Moshe Rabbeinu that is very busy judging the people from the morning till the evening. He by himself has to answer to all the questions that they have. He has to give direction, he has to teach them the laws, he has to really take care of so many matters. And the group of people is not so small. We know that there are 600,000 soldiers, which means around 3 million people. How can one man take care of everything? By the way, I make a parenthesis. Chachamim here have a machloket. Some will say that the things are brought in our parasha according to how they happened. This is the order. First, the episode with Yitro, and then we have Ma'amad Har Sinai. Others will say, no, it's not written on the same order. This is actually happening after we received the Torah, and their explanation is because Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching them the laws. Where does he have the laws from? It has to be from receiving the Torah. But I remember listening a shiur from Chacham Faur, and he was saying this is happening before Ma'amad Har Sinai, before us receiving the Torah. And he was teaching zechut for Am Yisrael. He was saying, look, this nation, these people, this group of slaves that they still did not receive the Torah, but they want to act with morality. They want to solve their disputes. They come to Moshe, they ask how to act, who is right, when we could expect from slaves that have been used so much to being heat, to the language was the language of the rod, of the violence, of physical violence. They are here trying, showing what they really want, which is law and order. That's a beautiful explanation, but as I say, there is no one complete definition if this is happening before or after Ma'amad Har Sinai. So I'm not going to read all the psukim, but what Yitro ends up advising and suggesting Moshe Rabbeinu is, listen, this is not good. This is going to be bad for you and bad for the nation. You cannot handle this. More or less, Yitro is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you need to learn to delegate. You need to learn to give others some protagonism. You cannot take upon yourself all the judging, all the teaching of the halachot. And he's telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you shall, Pasuk 20, you shall caution, sorry, I go backwards a little bit, 19, now heed my voice, I shall advise you, and may God be with you. You be a representative to God, and you convey the matters to God. You shall caution them regarding the decrees and the teachings, and you shall make known to them the path in which they should go, and the deeds that they should go, and you shall discern from among the entire people men of accomplishment, God-fearing people, men of truth, people who despise money, and you shall appoint them leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, and leaders of 10s. They shall judge the people at all times, and they shall bring every major matter to you, and every minor matter they shall judge, and it will be easy for you, and they shall bear with you. If you do this thing, and God shall command you, then you will be able to endure, and this entire people as well shall arrive at its destination in peace. Yitro knows that they have a destination. The destination is coming to Eretz Israel, but he tells him, meanwhile, you cannot continue in this way. You have to appoint leaders, like some will be responsible on thousands, others of hundreds, others of 50, others of 10, some kind of a bureaucratic system where the little things they take care, those responsible for a small group. Then if they cannot, they pass it to the higher level. If not, they pass it to the higher level until they come to you. I am not going into the details, but whatever it is, and what is surprising to us is that what is Moshe Rabbeinu doing? On Pasuk 24, Moshe heeded the voice of his father-in-law and did everything that he had said. Moshe chose men of accomplishment from among all Israel and appointed them heads of the people, leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, and leaders of 10s. They judged the people at all times, the difficult thing they would bring to Moshe and the minor thing they themselves would judge. And Moshe sent off his father-in-law and he went to his land, which means sent him off. He told him, thank you so much. It was so nice to have you here. What a nice visit. And we will see later in the future that Yitro actually did not want to stay longer. He wanted to go back home, which is okay. These are also our approach with the non-Jewish people. We send them, we don't want to grab them. No, you need to convert, you need to stay with us. You can be a Hasid, Umot HaOlam, you can be a righteous person. You don't need to become a Jew. But what is surprising and beautiful, and I wanted just to mention this before we go to our main subject of today, is the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he could say, what are you coming to give me advice? Do you know who I am? You don't know me. You know me as your son-in-law, the one that came escaping from Paro. But after I left your house, I became a person that speaks with God. You think that you can come and advise to me how to act? I speak with Hashem. I get the directions from him. I have this spiritual level. We know what we are doing. We are the chosen, but no. We see humility. We see understanding that we can get advice from others especially if it's wisdom, if it's from somebody that has some experience, and we are starting as a nation. And Moshe Rabbeinu received this. And from here, I want us to reflect a little bit on ourselves, on how willing are we to receive, to accept advice from others, to accept criticism, to accept from somebody that tells us, what you are doing is actually is not good. This is not so good for your children. I don't know. Especially, I was thinking to myself, it comes from the father-in-law. Imagine father-in-law or mother-in-law coming and giving advice. What you are doing is not right. This is not good for your children. Do this, do that. So usually we are very sensitive. We become very we come with we become defensive. We don't want to accept. We become offended. Why they are criticizing me. And I think that the important part, whenever it comes for criticism or for advices from others, is important to be able to identify if this person usually wants whatever is good for me. If this person is coming from a place of love, of care, of really giving an advice because he wants my life to be better, he or she wants my life to be better, then we need to be humble and honest enough to listen and to say, oh, okay, actually, wow, this is a good advice, because our goal in life should be always to be better. Like, if I'm not going to be tomorrow better than how I am today, why do I need the tomorrow? Our attitude in life should be, wow, so I'm used to feed my children ABC, and then I hear from a friend, from a relative, from whatever, that actually this is healthy or this is better. So I should be able to at least contemplate and check, are they right? Is this a good advice? Should I take this into consideration for my own family? And then apply that. And this is what I think is a very important teaching of Moshe Rabbeinu. He realizes that his father-in-law is coming from a good place, not for the sake of criticism. It's a very constructive criticism. It's because he cares about Moshe Rabbeinu, he cares about the people, and it makes sense what he's saying. So immediately the Torah says that Moshe Rabbeinu, וישמע משה לכל חותנו, Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law, ויעש כל אשר אמר, and he did everything that he said. Okay, so now I'm going to go, after we finish and Yitro is going back home, after we see a different approach of how the nations around the area heard about Yetziat Mitzrayim from Egypt, heard about the miracles of Hashem, and appreciated it and praised it and recognized the greatest way that Hashem took us out of Egypt and how great is our God. We see that with the representation of Yitro. We'll see that with other nations and individuals. And now we go to what the Torah is going to tell us about the most important event on the birth of us as the Jewish nation, which is Ma'amad Har Sinai. So this is how we are born as a nation. Yes, Paro called us a people, Am Israel, but we become a people, we become Am Israel now in this parasha. I'm going to be reading and explaining the pshat because it's really very, very beautiful and clear, and so important for us to see from where we are coming and what is that made us so special, what is that made our relationship with Hashem so special. So I start, we are on chapter Yutet, chapter 19. בחודש השלישי לצאת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים. This is happening only 3 months after we leave Egypt. In the 3rd month from the exodus of the children of Israel from Egypt, on this day, they arrived at the wilderness of Sinai. So first of all, this is not happening the next day, that Hashem takes us out of Egypt and here I give you the Torah. This is the goal, this is the purpose, this is why I took you out. Hashem is giving us 3 months to empty our head a little bit of all the toxic relationship that we had with the Egyptians. We've seen in the last parashiyot that it has not been easy, that it was kind of easier to take Am Israel out of Egypt than to take Egypt out of the minds of Am Israel. We had to see all the miracles of Hashem. We had to see the opening of the sea. We had to see our masters dying there. We had to cry and to complain for every single need that we had. And we were exposed to the greatness and the benevolence of Hashem. You are hungry? Here, my love. Here, my children, I send you food. You are thirsty? Here, I'll give you water. I am guiding you. Hashem is guiding us with the clouds. He is protecting us. We see that our going in the desert is not normal. It's totally based on miracles. So after 3 months, Chachamim say it's like a king that his son was very ill. And once he recovers, the teachers of the palace want to start teaching him, and the king said, no, let my child have a break, let him recover. The same thing here. Hashem is giving us a little bit of time to recover from the slavery, from our shi'abud in Egypt. And now after 3 months, on this day, Chachamim say on this day is Rosh Chodesh. So we are speaking here about 3 months after Nisan, which is Nisan, Iyar Sivan. We are in the month of Sivan. On the first day of Sivan, they arrived at the wilderness of Sinai. They journeyed from Rephidim and arrived at the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in the wilderness, and Israel encamped there opposite the mountain. So it says here that we are coming from Rephidim. Actually, Rephidim was the last stop that we saw on our previous parasha. That was where Amalek came and attacked us. So the mention of Rephidim here is not only geographic, perhaps, according to some interpretations, it wants to hint to what happened in Rephidim. What happened in Rephidim? Amalek came and attacked Israel, and we saw last week how that war took place. It was Hashem's intervention, but it was Yehoshua as a general taking soldiers from Am Israel, the people of Israel fighting, Moshe Rabbeinu standing with his hands up, showing the people, pray to Hashem, Hashem is going to help you. So it seems that after that war, Am Israel came out stronger. They came out with a sense of higher self-esteem because we start having a protagonism. We're starting taking care of ourselves. As good as it was that Hashem is taking care of us as if we were babies, it's good that we see, oh, we can fight. We're not so much the poor, defenseless slaves. We can take care of ourselves. They feel a sense of purpose. So they bring us also to be united, as opposed to all these other events when they are just complaining, there is not food, there is no water. We don't see complaints whenever Amalek is coming and attacking Israel. So it says here, Vaychanu bamidbar, I read the Hebrew on purpose, and they encamped there. They encamped in the wilderness. Vayichan sham Israel neged ha'ar, and Israel encamped there opposite the mountain. Chachamim here in the Midrash says Vayichan. Vayichan in Hebrew is a verb in singular because it's telling us that Am Israel were keish echad belev echad, like one person with one heart. Again, to show us the unity. Am Israel were in a moment of unity. That's why that was a very good timing for Hashem to give us the Torah. So Moshe ascended. Now what we're going to see is that for us to become a nation in Ma'amad Har Sinai, there are different steps. It doesn't happen like this. As Hashem tells us, you are my nation. There is like 3 steps. We have Hatza'at HaBerit. Hashem is offering us to become his chosen people by establishing a covenant. Then we have Matan Torah. Hashem is giving us the Torah, which is the 10 Commandments and all the mitzvot that we see in Parashat Mishpatim. And then it's Kabbalat Torah. Am Yisrael received the Torah. So first, even that there are midrashim that say Kafa alehem har kegigit. Hashem is imposing the Torah on us. Even that we have those midrashim, actually Hashem could force us, but Hashem is actually offering the Torah to us. Hashem is telling Moshe, this is my proposal. Offer this to the people. So let's read. Moshe sent it to Hashem, to God, and Hashem called to him from the mountain, saying, so shall you say to the house of Yaakov and relate to the children of Israel. One thing that I never paid attention, and this year I realized, it says that Hashem is coming, that Moshe is coming. Moshe ala el Elohim, vaikra elav Hashem min har. Moshe is coming up to Hashem, and Hashem is calling Moshe from the mountain. So what comes first? Hashem calling Moshe and Moshe coming? Or first Moshe coming and then Hashem talks to Moshe? So some interpretations, some say that since, by the way, this is the mountain where Moshe saw the burning bush. This is where Moshe had this interaction with Hashem. When Hashem introduces himself to Moshe, when Hashem is requesting Moshe, I want you to go and save my people. When Hashem is telling Moshe then, and it's like a year ago before Yetziat Mitzrayim, Hashem is telling Moshe, and you will bring these people to this mountain where they will serve me. So the goal, the purpose that was already established there is happening here. So some interpretations say that since then, perhaps Moshe came several times to this mountain. It was a place where he would come to communicate with Hashem. But also, they learn from here, Chachamim, that in order for Hashem to communicate, there was a need also first to a proactivity, to Moshe coming first, to Moshe coming to the mountain, and then Hashem is going to speak with him, kind of telling us in our relationship with Hashem, it is important that we come, that we start. Then Hashem is going to come all the way to us. But as Chachamim tell us, פיתחו לי פתח כפתחו של מחט, ואפתח לכם פתח כפתחו של עולם. Hashem is telling us, open to me, a little opening, like the opening of a needle. You know, the needle when you have to thread the string there, it's very tiny. Open a tiny opening. Start coming to me, towards me. And then I will open for you this big opening. Then I'm going to come towards you. So it says here that Hashem is speaking to Moshe to the mountain, from the mountain, saying, so shall you say to the house of Yaakov and relate to the children of Israel. Kotomar lebet Yaakov ותגיד לבני ישראל. Rashi and the Midrash will say here, Bet Yaakov is the females, is the women, Bnei Israel is the men, and here the Midrash takes the opportunity to say how important is that women are the first one to absorb the message, to learn, because as Eleanor Roosevelt used to say, when you teach a woman, you teach a family. That's why we're sitting here studying Torah. I'm sure each one of us, when we study Torah, we take the message, we speak about it with our children, we convey this to our husband. We bring from what we have to our children. It comes out to the whole family. But that's a beautiful midrash. Others, like Eben Ezra or more linguistic mefarshim, will say, no, this is only the Torah using a poetic way. Bet Yaakov and Bnei Israel is the same thing relating to Am Israel. I continue, Pasuk 4. Atem reitem what I did to Egypt. You have seen what I did to Egypt, and that I have borne you on the wings of eagles and brought you to me. This is so beautiful. That's why this shiur, I wanted to really pay attention to each one of the words. So you have seen what I did to Egypt. What is important in this that seems so obvious? Okay, so Hashem is reminding us all what he did for us. But we need to remember something. All what happened in Egypt with the Makot, with the Makat Bechorot, how much of it Bnei Israel saw and understood and absorbed the message of what was happening, that Hashem was saving them. You remember at the beginning, when Moshe Rabbeinu is coming and speaking with Paro, let my people go, that Paro hardens their work and their enslavement, and Bnei Israel suffer more, and then they don't want to know anything, and then they are absolutely out of the picture. They are not part of all the negotiations. They just see things happening to the Egyptians, and what they see that the active roles are taken by Moshe and Aaron. Moshe with his makel, with his staff, is making miracles. Is hitting here, is hitting there, is performing miracles. Then even in front of Yam Suf, when they are so petrified by the Egyptians coming behind them, Moshe Rabbeinu extends his hand, the waters open. So it could be that there was a need to reinforce here. All what happened there, it was me, says Hashem. You saw what I did to Egypt, what I did, and that I have borne you on the wings of eagles and brought you to me. I was studying from Nechama Levovich, that was an amazing teacher of Torah. And to tell you the truth, every time I read modern commentators today, I see that they take it from her. She says there that this sentence has a much stronger message of compassion, of care, of love from Hashem towards Am Israel than a message of punishment and revenge and vengeance against the Egyptians. You saw what I did to Egypt. Rashi says there, you saw what I did to Egypt, especially now that I needed to take you out of Egypt, because Egyptians really deserved to be punished. They had done so many bad things, but I did it now because I wanted, the timing of the retribution was now for your sake, because I wanted to save you. So Hashem is reminding Am Israel, like, it's kind of bringing the credentials. Why am I coming to you to offer you this proposal that I'm going to express now? Hashem is telling us, because, you know, the relationship that I have with you, how much I care for you, how much I love you, what I did to the Egyptians in order to spare you from the suffering, how I brought you from Egypt with so many nisim. And now the second part is a beautiful, beautiful metaphor that says, I have borne you on the wings of eagles and brought you to me. What does it mean that I brought you in the wings of eagles? What is the eagle, and what does that bird represent? The eagle is the strongest bird. Like all the other birds are afraid of the eagle. So some Mefarshim will explain, like the Eben Ezra will say, what does it mean to bring you on the wings of eagle? It means for you it was as if you were flying. Like when a bird needs to cross the sea, the sea is not a problem for the bird, because the bird is going to fly. It doesn't have a problem if there is waters. It's not an impediment for the bird. So that was for me the same. I was like an eagle. What? There is a sea, but what is the problem? Hashem opened the sea and then you could walk there. But it's like the same way that the sea is not an impediment for the bird, is not an impediment for me. And because Hashem is all powerful, the metaphor is bringing the most powerful bird. What do others Mefarshim will say? Rashi, for example, says, "Kenesher anose gozalav al knefav," as an eagle bears its young aloft on its wings. All other birds clutch their young between their legs underneath, because they are afraid of another bird overflying them. The eagle, however, is only afraid of the hunter's arrow, since no other bird can fly higher than it. It therefore places it on top of its wings, saying, "Let the arrow rather pierce me than my young." So again, Rashi is trying to explain why is the Torah bringing this metaphor with the eagle. It's in order to express how strong is Hashem, how powerful is Hashem, like the most powerful of the birds. All the birds, when they fly, and have to take their little babies, they take them underneath their legs. They hold them with their legs, and then they are flying. Why do they take them with their legs? Because that's how they protect the birds, the babies being afraid of stronger birds flying above them and grabbing their babies. But the eagle that flies the highest, because it's the strongest of all the birds, is not afraid of anyone above them. That's why the only fear of the eagle is the humans, that they can throw arrows at them, and that's how they protect the babies with their bodies. So this is the two factors involved in this metaphor: the eagle's wings, and that fly very, very high, and how the bird is even willing to protect it with his body. So Ora Chaim says, this is to express the love of Hashem for them, as if to say, see my love for you as a father for his children. I was even concerned that you should not be footsore and bore you aloft on eagle's wings, like clouds of glory were spread out underneath you. It's like I protect you from any danger, but I also want your comfort. So it's beautiful to see how Hashem is reminding us. This proposal that I'm going to offer you is based on love. I love you, my people. I care for you. I didn't only took you out of Egypt. I didn't only take you out of Egypt. I am also caring for you, for fulfilling your needs, for protecting you. And it continues and saying, Va'avi etchem elai, and brought you to me. The purpose of me taking you out of Egypt and the miracles and bringing you as an eagle takes the babies is to bring you to me, is for this relationship that I'm going to express now. And now, this is the very important pasuk, because it shows us that there was a proposal. It wasn't imposed. There is a choice. And now, if you hearken well to me and observe my covenant, you shall be to me the most beloved treasure of all peoples, for mine is the entire world. You shall be to me a kingdom of ministers and a holy nations. These are the words that you shall speak to the children of Israel. So again, Hashem is telling Moshe to convey to the people of Israel. So what is Hashem telling him? If you hearken well to me and observe my covenant, okay, yes, I love you, I care for you, I protect you, I want to make a covenant with you, but it's not unconditional. My love, my covenant with you is going to be conditioned to what? Im shamoa tishmeu bekoli ushmartem et briti. You need to listen to me. You need to keep my pact. If you do that, if you are going to listen to what I am going to now give you as mitzvot, then you shall be to me the most beloved treasures of all peoples. I am choosing you to become my chosen people. And it's used with the words segula mikol amim. Segula is a treasure. It's something that you protect, that you don't want anybody else to touch. So what is Hashem offering us as exchange, as his part of the covenant? You keep my Torah, you keep my commandments, and I'm going to protect you in the way that somebody safeguards very well when you have something of a very high value. Mikol amim. So now, I know that it doesn't sound so well, it doesn't sound so good to say that we are the chosen people. Like, today we live in times of acceptance and tolerance, and everybody's the same, and everybody's has the same rights, and ta. So it sounds a little bit of arrogance, or what do we think we are? Why do we think that we are superior to others? We need to understand what it means to be the chosen people. And this pasuk is saying it. The first part of the pasuk is saying it. If you keep my Torah and mitzvot, to be the chosen people, it's absolutely a very, very high responsibility in our side, on our part. We are not the chosen people just because our blood is nicer, our faces are prettier and whatever. It's not only because of who we are. We need to act upon it. So to be the chosen people, it's really a demand for responsibility. I repeat, if you hearken well to me and observe my covenant, for mine is the entire world. The same, Hashem is also reinforcing this and saying, why can I do this? Why can I choose a nation? Because the world is mine. I created the world. I created every human being on this earth. I have the right to choose one. I have the right to say what I want. You shall be, and it continues explaining what does it mean for us if we listen to Hashem's commandments. You shall be to me a kingdom of ministers and a holy nation. What does it mean to be Mamlechet Kohanim Vegoy Kadosh? What does it mean? What is to be a kingdom of priests, of Kohanim? What is a Kohen? So several angles on this. To be a Kohen usually is to be a person that represents or connects the people with Hashem. So is the spirituality, a representative of Hashem for the others. But we in Am Yisrael, we know that the Kohanim had a very special mission. They were also the teachers of the people. We know that they had to sit in the entrance of Yerushalayim. Whenever we had the Bet HaMikdash, the Kohanim would sit in the entrance of the Bet HaMikdash, and when people would come and they had questions and they had the issues that they needed to solve, they would come to the Kohanim, and the Kohanim would be those to teach, to clarify. So to be a Kohen is to be a teacher. So what does Hashem want from us, Am Yisrael? So yes, we become Hashem's representatives in this world. We are his emissaries to teach his word. Until one day, V'haya bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad, until we reach the day where Hashem is going to be one for the entire universe. Like, so I said at the beginning of the class, the 10 Commandments became so universal and so accepted, but we had a big part on it. Things that today seem so obvious and normal were not so obvious for every civilization. So Am Yisrael were in the world teaching, and especially teaching with our role model. And it's interesting because even the fact that we were exiled later on from our country had a big part of it, because how can I teach others when I am only in Eretz Israel? So it's a little bit of a dichotomy. From one side, we want to be in Eretz Israel. From the other side, Veitem li mamlechet kohanim vegoy kadosh, we're supposed to be teachers for the entire world. Goy kadosh, a nation that is holy, that is going to be a role model for all the humanity. So this Hashem is telling Moshe to speak to the children of Israel. Moshe came and summoned the elders of the people and put before them all these words that Hashem had commanded him. The entire people responded together and said, everything that Hashem has spoken we shall do. Moshe brought back the words of the people to Hashem. Hashem said to Moshe, behold, I come to you in the thickness of the cloud, so that the people will hear as I speak to you, and they will also believe in you forever. Moshe related the words of the people to Hashem. So in Pasuk 7, we see that after Hashem is telling Moshe, convey this message to Am Yisrael, Moshe speaks to the elders. He cannot speak to everyone at once. He speaks to the elders that are going to be the representatives that are going to later come and explain to everybody else, and what Hashem had commanded him. And then the Pasuk 8 says, the entire people responded together and said, everything that Hashem had spoken we shall do. Something is missing here. It seems that the Torah is not bringing us all the detailed conversation, because Hashem is telling to the elders, Then we suppose the elders are coming and conveying it to the people. Then the people are answering to the elders. Then the elders are coming to Moshe. Then Moshe is going to come to Hashem. At the end, Hashem is bringing back the words of the people to Hashem. And they said, everything that Hashem has spoken, we shall do. What is everything that Hashem shall spoken? We want this pact. We accept the proposal. It's kind of a couple that are dating, and then there is a proposal, and the other side accept. I do. Still, there's so many things that need to be spoken. But at the beginning, this relationship is being accepted by both sides. So another element that we find in Ma'amad Har Sinai, that the Torah is very strong on this, is that Hashem is telling Moshe, from this Ma'amad, from this event, something else is going to happen. I am going to speak to you, and the people are going to witness how I speak to you. I will be in the thickness of the cloud, so they are not going to see me. They are not going to have the clarity that you have every time I speak to you. But I want something to be established. I want everybody to understand that I have this communication with you, Moshe, that every time later on, you relate to the people, you refer to the people, you bring things in my name, they will know that it's true. V'ya'aminu, how does it say here? Becha ya'aminu le'olam, and they will trust you forever. So in this ceremony of Ma'amad Har Sinai, besides of us receiving the mitzvot from Hashem, the commandments from Hashem, understanding about this relationship that we get from Hashem, Hashem wants to reinforce Moshe Rabbeinu's position as a prophet, as a unique prophet that there was never before and will never be, that Hashem communicates with him panim el panim. The power of our memory is that it was all of us. It wasn't that Hashem appeared to Moshe only and he gave him the 10 commandments and Moshe gave it to us. Hashem wanted all of us to witness, to experience with all of our senses, voices, lightning, trembling, everything. Every person that was there could really witness and understand that it was Hashem giving us the Torah. And as I said, another important message is for us to believe in Moshe Rabbeinu as our Moshe, as our Navi, as our prophet forever. Thank you very much for listening. And that's it. I don't know if anybody has a question. I'm going to post again, I will try to post it in my chat so everybody can read about the whole ceremony. Have a great day, a great weekend, keep safe, Shabbat Shalom, all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.